Good morning, everybody. Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, and through that collaboration last year, reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. You're watching the Morning Vibe here live on November 18th. So a few little announcements ahead of time. First things first, for some reason, you're not able to watch us on the Dr. Vibe Show Facebook page this morning. So if you are usually watching on the Facebook page live, go to my YouTube page and you'll be able to watch it live, or you can also go to the Afro Caribbean Business Network page, Ryan's LinkedIn page, but probably the best place is go to the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube page. I have no control of it. There seems to be a technical challenge with the organization that provides us the live stream capabilities. So just that's out of the way. Second of all, Ryan will not be with us today. And usually on Fridays, he comes in halfway through, but he is under the weather, has a little bit of a cold. He said he probably caught it from his kids, so he's not with us today. Then also on Monday, this coming Monday show, we have Dwayne Morgan. Yes, wonderful, wonderful poet, entrepreneur. Dwayne Morgan's going to be coming on talking about his next production called When Brothers Speak. So get all those things out of the way. That's what we have going on now, and this is what we have going on for the next few days. So just want to make sure you're doing all right. And hey, hopefully some of you have taken part in Buy Black's Restaurant Week. Wow. So I've been on a little bit of a tour with Roger Dundas, who's the co-founder and publisher of BuyBlacks.com, Black Canada's #1 online magazine. And Tuesday night was at the BB Man Project having African food. Wednesday night, I was at a Haitian restaurant, Bukan, on Danforth Avenue, and that was crazy. And yes, anyone who was now I've finally become part of the rum cheesecake family. So I finally had my rum cheesecake at Bukan, and I actually have some in the fridge because I think I told you I ordered a 7-inch one, so I have that. Half of that's gone, by the way, already, so I do have to get on my treadmill a little bit more often in the next few weeks. And then yesterday for lunch, myself and Roger were at Scott Hill Restaurant on Avenue Road in Toronto, and amazing. Again, I had my jerk chicken rice. They had great. They had ackee and dumplings, but the way they served it, I don't want to take all the time, but I got pictures. Just what it is, next Monday, we'll start the conversation off with some pictures of the Restaurant Week carousings. Let's put it that way. So that, it was great to have some ackee and saltfish and just served on some fried dumplings. I hadn't had fried dumplings in a long time. So definitely haven't checked it out. Please check out Buy Black's Restaurant Week, where there's restaurants all across Canada that are participating. So just go to buyblacks.com/restaurant week, and you'll get a full listing of all the restaurants. And it may even go to another week. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Hey, so once a month, we have many special friends come on. And today, another popular friend coming back on, Ray McMillan of the McMillan Group. is with us this morning. Ray, how are you this morning? Okay, you have yourself on mute.
Is that
There we
better?
go.
Thank you
That's
very much.
much better.
My apologies.
Fantastic. That's all right.
Good morning. How are you doing, man?
Outstanding. And Ray, I love as when Ray came on and said, I love the backdrop. Mortgages made simple. Love it. Love it.
I'm back in. I'm back in the office this time around. I'm braving the subterranean temperatures here that we have.
Yes. Well,
It's a
look,
different vibe from the last conversation we had. You know what I mean?
yes, you were outdoors and it was sunny and all that. And I'm going, oh, it's back in. Well, hey, at least we're not in Buffalo. So anyone who's living in the Buffalo area, we do feel your pain.
Yeah, that's a lot of snow. I can't even start team. I read it's like 70 centimeters of snow. That's a lot of. That's like a small child. That's a lot of snow. Anyway, but
Wow. So before we go any further, just shout outs. Good morning, Fitness, IQ Cam. Good morning, Frequency Event Promotions. Good morning, Marlon Stephan. Have not heard from you a bit. We're not communicating as much as we should. So I've got to take the initiative to get in touch with you today, Mr. Stephan. I actually have a question to ask him offline. So that's all right. How are the world of mortgages right now, by the way?
a lot of changes. I mean, if you've been following the news, we've seen the central bank is raising the overnight lending rates consecutive months. Fixed rates have gone quite a bit. So there's a lot of activity going on here. This is the time when if you're a homeowner with a mortgage, you want to sit down and have a conversation with your lender or mortgage professional, particularly if you're maturing in the next 2 to 6 months to determine what plan of action works best for you. If you're planning to purchase, whether it's a single family home to live in or an investment property, prudence is necessary. You've got to plan that property. So you don't want to get yourself in a situation that can get a little messy. But this is what life is all about in the real world, right? You've got to, if there's no plan, then you will have problems. So with the economy the way it is today, not only interest rates rising, but also with the inflationary costs and the cost of food and the cost of gas, all that people are experiencing. You've got to sit down and put that budget in place. Work with your partner, your spouse. If you're a two-income home, and really make sure you're on the same page. If you have a lot of personal debt, then you want to try to manage that debt properly, because that can become a challenge, particularly if you're in your 40s or 50s and you have a lot of personal debt. So you want to manage that debt and try to control that. So professional advice is very key. Financial advisors, your tax accountant, your mortgage professional, and make sure that everybody's on the same page and you're having a good conversation with them.
Yeah, I think you already said a wealth of knowledge right there. As usual, you're dropping knowledge bombs, like things like professional advice, very, very key at all times, especially during these times, because from what, and I pay attention to this, like I'm not a financial guru, but I pay attention to what's going on with the Fed in the US, what's going on with the Bank of Canada interest rates, because that's just going to ripple effect for the next few months, if not next few years. And, I know a lot of people that, they have variable interest mortgages who now their variable interest rate is getting close to a fixed rate mortgage.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to be careful with that, because what a lot of folks are doing without any real analysis is rushing to lock into a 5-year mortgage. It might not necessarily be the best thing to do, because if you got a variable rate mortgage at 5.5% with a 1% discount, you still at 4.5%, which is still 1% or more lower than the best 5-year rate. And the flexibility of a variable rate mortgage gives you options in the future. Locking into a 5-year mortgage at 5+% is not necessarily smart, because if the rates adjust in the next year and a half or two, and they come down 1%, your variable rate mortgage will be down to 3%, but you're now stuck at this 5% or higher 5-year term that will cost you quite a lot of money to break that contract. Now, for our friends in the US, this is all alien to them. because they have 15, 25, and 30-year mortgages. There's no 1, 5, 6-year terms and that kind of stuff. So they get a mortgage for the rest of your life, unless you want to renegotiate. But here in Canada, our mortgage products are a little different. So every 3 to 5 years, you are renegotiating that mortgage contract with your lender.
Yeah, I think it's very, very interesting what's going on. And again, one of the things I do chat with Ray offline a lot is, how, where are you now and where do you see yourself in the next few years? You got to sort of like have a little bit of vision of, and again, leveraging, how much of a risk taker are you? All those sort of things. Individuals like Ray can help give you clarity in regards to making the right decisions that you need to make.
That is so true, and that's a good segue into today's conversation.
Yes.
We want to talk about real estate investing.
Yes. So let's talk about that, because I know I've always heard that one of the best ways to generate wealth and generational wealth is investing in real estate. Am I correct in that?
Yes, you are. Land is one of the world's scarcest resources. As much as a lot of land available, a lot of the land has no intrinsic value. There's not much you can use it for. It's like land and water. Most of the earth surface is water, but most of that water is not drinking water. So we've got land and water that are very, very scarce resources. So yes, having a very well designed and thought out investment process is important and can be very, very beneficial when it comes to investing in real estate. I myself have been an investor for several years, and I've worked with many people who are real estate investors. Let me give you my disclaimer first of all before we start. The investment conversation we do with our clients is a 2-day process. We hold investment seminars with clients who want to invest in real estate. 2 days, 5 hours per day. We're going to try and condense that entire conversation into probably an hour or less.
Yep.
So, we want to have the conversation interactive because we can't get through the whole process. First of all, there's 2 kinds of investing. There's active and passive investing. Passive investing is when you're a private lender, you're investing in real estate trust, you're into managed portfolios, that sort of stuff. Active investing is what excites most people. When you want to go out there and find your own piece of real estate, do a development, do a buy and flip, or get involved in buying rental property, right? The most common thing today in most parts of North America is either the buy and flip or the buy and hold, which is buying a property and holding it for a long period of time while you generate cash flow every month and enjoy the appreciation of that property. Now, the first question you want to ask yourself is, why are you investing in real estate? What is the long-term goal? Are you investing to make money today, which is the buy and flip approach or the wholesaling approach? Are you interested in creating a pool of assets that go to the next generation? Are you interested in creating cash flow immediately to supplement your current income and eventually get to a point where if you have a regular 9-to-5 job, you can leave your job and become a full-time real estate investor and landlord? And if that's the case, how many units or doors do you need to get there? So the first question is the why. The next question is the what. What are you investing in? There's a multitude of real estate units out there you can invest in. You can invest in condominiums, vacation homes.
So do you want me to put up that slide now in regards
to... Thank you. Yeah. So that the audience has an idea what.
So let me put up that first slide. We do have some slides to accompany. So this is what Ray is talking about now.
Yeah. So you can invest in single family homes, duplexes, triplexes, multifamily, which can be anything from 5 units or more up to a 500-unit apartment building, vacation homes, and then finally the apartment buildings. So what is it that you want to invest in? Because these are all very different types of assets, and they involve different types of risk, different types of analysis, and different types of management styles. And then the final question is, where are you going to invest? Why, what, where? And the where is the geographic area. Are you investing in a vacation town? Are you investing in beachfront property? Are you investing in downtown core? And we can go through a long list of where you want to invest. So it is very, very important that as a novice or new investor, you have clarity on those 3 things. If you don't, you may find yourself in problems. And that's why there are more unsuccessful real estate investors in the small term scale than there are successful real estate investors, because those three things aren't carefully thought out.
All right, we'll bring us back. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting you say more often than not, the person who starts with this is unsuccessful. What are some of the reasons they're not successful, other than the ones you mentioned a few moments ago?
One is emotional buying. Many investors buy homes that they're going to rent the same way they buy the home they're going to live in. So they use the same variables, right? They look at stuff like, the amenities in the home, but it's, got a garage and all that sort of stuff. Buying an investment property is very, very different. First of all, you want to buy it at a discount. That's the first thing you want to do. You don't want to pay premium for an investment property. And you've got to set yourself on parameters. So the first thing is you have to decide what your budget is. What's the maximum price you can afford to buy? What's your available down payment? The second thing you have to understand is what my potential income for this property, and is this property going to cash flow positively or not? Also, does this property has the ability for future redevelopment? What I mean by that is, can I change the zoning from a single family home to a multifamily? Can I change it from a 2-family home or a 1-family home to a 3 or 4 family or a 5 or 6 family unit? So that is something you have to really get into your thought process before you go out there and start buying real estate. And you've got to do the research. You've got to go through the neighborhoods to make sure that they offer what you want in terms of potential clients. Right? One of the mistakes a lot of people make is buying homes for rent in what I consider bedroom communities. 3/4 of the people there own their own homes. So your pool of potential renters is very, very small. You want to buy your investment property in a neighborhood or a postal code or a zip code where the potential renters is extremely high. 45% of people across North America rent their own homes. So you want to be at 45% or higher where you own your investment property. If you're lower than that, then you will have a problem. Not necessarily today, but possibly in the near future as things change in the environment.
45% of North Americans rent?
Yeah, in some cities in the US, it's almost 65%. That's a good thing if you're looking to invest in real estate.
Yeah, true.
That's 40 people.
Yes.
Right? Remember what you've got, what you have to look at. What I look at as an investor, I look at cities that have a population of 100,000 people or more in Canada, or 250,000 people or more in the US. With industry, close to highways, and reasonable amenities, with a young population. So you got to understand the demographics. You don't want to be in a city where all the population is above the age of 55 or 60, because most likely they own their homes.
Yep.
You want to be in a city where a lot of the population between the age of 18 and probably 40. Those are the folks making average incomes. They're trying to find jobs, and they don't have the resources to buy a home. So the average income in Canada is $85,000 a year. You want to find cities where the average income is below that. If in the US it's $40,000 a year, you want to find cities where it's below that. So meaning the more people you have who are working below the area's median income, the more potential tenants you have to work with, because they can't afford to buy. They wouldn't qualify for a home.
Nice. Just doing a little reset here. We're speaking with Ray McMillan of the McMillan Group. We're talking today about what does it take, or the steps to take to be a successful real estate investor. We got some family here shouting out. Christopher Lawrence saying, hi, Ray Real Estate McMillan. I didn't know that's his new handle. Divine Wright from the DMV in the US. Good morning. Happy Friday. Looking forward to today. Ray and I were talking about this the other month, and he has me thinking in a whole different way. Thank you, Ray. Very nice. Marlon says Ray is an excellent teacher. So we always have great live audience when people like Ray are on. So again, today, and we got some of our family on. So again, as always, if you're watching live, please submit your questions on whatever platform you are watching this on, so Ray can give his evaluated experience and answers to help you get clarity and move forward. So just want to do that. Ray, where you want to go to next?
Yeah. So that's one reason why a lot of people make mistakes. So you have to understand the math behind the investment process. And I'm going to throw out a few numbers now, a few acronyms and names. So get your pen and paper handy. First, you want to know what is your debt service coverage ratios, which is DSCR, right? And that, why this is important, this is the number the lenders use to qualify you that investment purchase. Now, I'm assuming the people we're talking to today are people who already own homes. They aren't investors who are buying to live and rent, which is called house hacking. So I'm making the assumption that everybody in this call, except for a few people, may already be homeowners. So their down payment is going to be at least 25% of the purchase price, which is what most lenders want for investment property. But then you have to figure out how do you qualify? You found this great property. What are the numbers behind this transaction? So understanding what the lenders need, how they look at the application in order to prove you for the mortgage is very, very important. So the debt service coverage is what they look at. Is the money that you earn on this property enough to cover the debt, which is the mortgage, taxes, utilities, and condo fees if necessary, and the vacancy rate, because there's always going to be a point in time when that property is going to be empty. So the lenders factor in a period of time when that property may be vacant. Some properties are self-managed, some properties have a management company managing them. So if that's one of the costs you're going to incur, all those numbers have to be in there. What is an ideal DSC number? Around 1.25%. What does that mean? That for every dollar of debt that you spend to own this asset, your income should be $1.25. Now, the higher that income, the better off you are. For me and my investment team, our numbers are like around 1.85%. Because what you see happening, if you're in Canada and your interest rates jump from 2% to 5%, and you're at a 1.25 debt service coverage ratio, when your mortgage renews, that DSC can probably drop below 1%, and you're now in negative territory. Two things happen. You have a difficult time renewing your mortgage to your lender, and number two, you got negative cash flow. And both those positions aren't a good place to be as a real estate investor. Next number is your cap rate, right? Now, each of these things are different based on your market. Some investors take them, put some in on a higher level than others. Some don't. But the things you have to understand as an investor. What is your cap rate? Your cap rate is the return is what is your rate of return of the investment based on the value. And that number is anywhere between 5 and 12%. There's a formula involved to calculate this stuff. Anybody who wants it, they can send us an email or give us a call in the office. I will send you the formula. And if you've got an investment property, I can actually analyze it for you and tell you whether it's making you money or not. Then what is your ROI, return on your investment, which is very similar to your cap rate. You bought a property for $400,000. You invested $80,000 in down payment plus your closing costs, legal fees, etc. Is this money making you money? Right. And again, there are formulas to compute all this stuff. In some cities, there were certain matrices to be used. Where if you buy a property for $200,000, you want your rent to be at least 1% of the purchase price. So on a $200,000 property, your rent should be $2,000 a month. On a $100,000 property, your rent should be $1,000 a month. On an $800,000 property, your rent should be $8,000 a month. Now, in some cities, that is not very easy to accomplish. In some cities, it is. So as a real estate investor, you want to find those markets where you can get as close to that number as possible. So it might mean changing the footprint of the property. Let's say you bought a property in parts of Toronto. It's a side split with an entrance off the garage or the side that goes into a 2-level basement. And then you've got your upper level unit. It's a $600,000 property. And right now you're renting for $4,000 a month because you got 2 units. If you change the floor plan slightly, get it rezoned, and make it a 3-unit property, you might get to that number, that 1% of the value, right? So the one thing you look at when you're buying an investment property is what can I do with this property to, 1, increase the value, and 2, increase the revenue every single month. Those are the two things you want to look at. And if you look at many parts of the GTA, you've seen people buying older homes sitting on 80-foot frontage lots, tearing them down, and putting up a 4,000 square foot mansion. No,
it's happening right on the other side of the block that I'm at right now.
And that's a great model. There's risk involved in that process, and you have to have the assets to do it. You've got to have a team to do it. In parts of the US, you follow the money. That's what I do. You look for where there's gentrification taking place. So you come into marginalized neighborhoods and you find single family homes or small multifamilies, which are being sold way below market value, and you buy them and you wait for the gentrification to catch up to your block. And that will significantly increase your value in a very short space of time. Meanwhile, at the same time, you're enjoying positive cash flow on your rental income. And some of the US, there are many programs in the US that are very favorable in inner city real estate investing, even here in Canada, right? So you have to understand that that's come back to the why. The why is also who's your tenant, who's your client, right? Is your client or tenant students? Are they people on a fixed income? Are they people who are on a subsidized, they're dealing with housing issues? So once you have to very carefully define who you want to approach when you decide to invest in real estate. And the reason many people are unsuccessful with it is that there's no clear thought out plan. This is a business. It's not a hobby.
Yep.
And you have to do exactly the same way as if you opened a barbershop, a mechanic shop, a restaurant, or a consulting company. You've got to figure out, how do I monetize this process and make a profit while doing it?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of good things there. Like I always share with people, especially in business, you don't want to make sales, you want to make revenue. Yeah. The big difference between making a sale and making revenue. You make a sale, you could break even, you could even lose money on a sale. But when you're making revenue, that means you have money either to put in the bank or reinvest in your business. So I just piggybacking on what Ray said there very much so. Ray, on your contact information, I haven't provided the email address. Is your Gmail address okay to give out to people?
Yeah, that's fine.
Or what's the best email address?
Best email is the Gmail account, the Gmail address.
Okay.
But also, go to the website. There's a contact form on the website.
Yeah. So I'll just leave the website there. People can just go to the website and do it there. That's cool.
That works fine for us.
Okay. The question, of course, Divine Right's going to have questions for you. So she's got a question. She said, let's get it up here. Okay. Why is it not? Oh, hold on. She says, is it a good idea to get a multi-property unit property within a school zone? My area has 3 elementary schools within a 1 mile radius. And then she adds on autocorrect 1 mile zone. That also includes a middle school also.
Most definitely. And what's also important to add to that comment that Divine Right made is, how are those schools rated? So if you look at schools in the US, they have a 1 to 10 rating. And a lot of schools in the US have very low ratings. So if that school zone has a 7 out of 10 rating, which is a higher than normal rating for US schools, then that's an amazing plus. But yes, so I mean, anything in a school zone will attract young families who are usually cash strapped and can't afford to buy their own home. So if you buy a multifamily with at least 2 bedrooms per unit, then you should not have a problem getting a reasonable rent for your units, and should have a problem finding tenants.
Okay, good. Great answer. Great question. I also want to have you talk about another one of the slides here, and we'll put it up here. 4 ways to increase equity as a real estate investor. So if you want to go through that with our family here, that'd be great.
Certainly. Thanks, Dr. White. Yeah, so the first thing you want to do is you want to take out the emotion out of the buying process. When most people buy homes that they live in, particularly here in Canada and in GTA, they get involved in this multiple bidding and that kind of stuff. That's not the way to build a successful real estate investment portfolio. Paying a premium for a property you plan to rent or plan to redevelopment is not very shrewd. So you want to buy at a discount. That's the first thing you want to focus on. How do you do that? You want to include a team of professionals who understand what you're trying to accomplish. So your realtor should be an investor-savvy realtor who understands the market you're trying to buy. Okay, that's the first thing you need to do. If you're not working to a realtor, you want to do it by yourself, then you got to drive for dollars. You got to get in your car and drive to neighborhoods. And, you want to get into neighborhoods that are densely populated, that are older, where you're going to find homes that are being sold by people who either moved out of the neighborhood because they have socioeconomic issues, or someone who's just recently passed away and they've lived in the home for several years. So that's one of the first things you want to get to do. And you got to spend time online. You got to spend time on websites, whether it's realtor websites or any place where property is being sold, and just look and see what is being sold, and have the resources to get in there as quickly as possible. It might mean making the offer without a conditional financing, but a conditional inspection. If you're a contractor who's doing this, or you've got a partner who's a contractor, then it might mean just doing the financing condition and taking off the inspection condition once you've done the visual walkthrough. I mean, we have done transactions where we bought sight unseen because the numbers make sense. And even if there's work to be done on the property, then you know that if you do that work, you can still come out ahead of the game. Forced appreciation. What does this mean? This means how do you change the value of the property you buy that will increase as quickly as possible? Usually this is done by doing upgrades to the home. So you buy a home that needs some work. They've got a vinyl tile in the kitchen. They've got some green bathtubs and toilets. The kitchen cupboards are a little dated. So you go in there and you do some minor renovations. You change some of the fixtures. You don't want to spend a whole lot of money, but you want to make it look modern. The other thing is to change the zoning. Now, this is a little more complex and it's a little more for the seasoned investor. But if you buy a home that is in a neighborhood where it's a mix of small single families and small multifamilies, how do you change your zoning from a single family home to a multifamily home, and then basically make your home a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex, thus changing its value and changing its overall revenue? Or if it's a triplex, how do you change it from a triplex into 12 units if the lot permits, and thus increase your value significantly now, and also your revenue? And that's how you sort of force the appreciation of the property. And that's what I mentioned about buying in bedroom communities earlier, as opposed to buying in the inner city. A bedroom community doesn't give you the opportunity to force the appreciation by changing the footprint of the property that much. While if you're in a major urban center within the inner core of that city, there's so much development going on every single day, with homes being rezoned into high density living, where they're building condos. That is a very high probability that you can change your zoning without too much pushback from the neighbors. And then the other is pay down your mortgage. You buy a home for $200,000. You've got a $150 mortgage. You pay it down every day. Every month you make a payment. So the difference between what you owe and the value of the property, that's your equity. So every time you make up a mortgage payment, your equity increases. And then the passive price appreciation, that is basically what the market appreciation in the neighborhood, or the postal code or zip code that you bought the property in. Most properties increase by a 3 to 4% interest rate every year annually. So if you buy a property for $100,000 this year, next year it's worth $104,000. If you don't do anything to it, the following year it's now worth $109,000. Every year it goes up in value. If you do some work to it, as we mentioned in item 2, then you can push the value up a lot faster. So those are the 4 things you want to look at. You want to get your pen and paper out. You want to build your spreadsheets, and you want to figure out how whatever property you purchase, how can it get you from, having no assets to creating assets, or no net worth to creating positive net worth in as short a space of time as possible.
Thank you for the breakdown of that, as always. And we love our Divine Right, because she has another question for you. So she's taking advantage of Ray in a good way, that is. And she's saying, Ray, they are building up the National Harbor here in the DC area. It's in Maryland. It has an MGM casino, Gaylord Resort, etc. Would it be a good idea to purchase a multi-unit close to that area?
Yeah, anywhere where there's convention centers, any city where there's convention centers and tourist attractions, you'll always enjoy opportunity in investment real estate. You've got in that case, you've got two opportunities. You've got the opportunity for short-term rentals using the Airbnb platform because that development will attract visitors to the area, and you've got the opportunity for affordable housing for folks who actually work in that sector. Because if we all aware of the fact that most people who work in hotels and casinos are usually lowest paid workers in most environments. So if you've got a huge casino and hotel coming there, then you'll have people coming from other parts of Maryland into that area to look for jobs. Those people most likely need housing. Most of the staff are usually female, and most of them, they have children. So they probably need a 1 or 2 bedroom unit. So the answer to that question is yes. I mean, if there's any kind of hospitality and tourist attraction going on in your neighborhood, those are usually multi-million-dollar developments. It will change the entire neighborhood extremely fast and for the positive.
Okay, good. She's following up here, says, I'm going to have to send you some more zip codes to look up, Ray, because I'm even thinking about more places to purchase a multi-unit in the DMV area. And she says also, oh, wow, never thought of that way, Ray. Airbnb and short-term living. Thank you.
Yeah, but keep in mind, you have to make sure you know what the short-term living rules and guidelines are in your particular city. Each city has a different set of rules in their playbook for Airbnb. So the last thing you want to do is invest in an Airbnb or have that as your investment plan, and in fact, you can't do it, right? So you have to make sure that you take a look at what your municipal guidelines are when it comes to short-term rentals and make sure you're compliant.
Well, again, and gets back to the point you made earlier on, either you got to do the research or you have a professional who knows the ins and outs of that.
That comes back to the why. Like, why are you doing this, right? Because a lot of people think it's a fad. I've got a friend who bought a property, so I'm going to buy a property. Or I got a friend who owns 2 properties, so I'm going to buy 2 properties. You know what I mean? So, but your situation might not be the same as your friend's situation.
Mm-hmm.
So put a plan in place and make sure those numbers make sense. Because, I mean, we had a client a few days ago, Stephan was working with, and they're buying a property, and they sent us all properties to look at. They want a tenant upstairs and a tenant downstairs. So we broke it down for them. I mean, they're buying a property right now in Toronto, in the GTA, for $1 million with $200,000 down payment. And their rental income is negative. It's like a $500 per month negative cash flow, right? And to me, it makes no sense, right? Now, if you buy a house to live in and rent the basement, that's different because that's your home. But if you buy a home to rent and you want to invest $200,000, then where's your ROI? What's your cap rate?
Yeah, exactly.
Those are things that I mentioned. Like, so those numbers are you've got to build a spreadsheet, right? If you plan to have somebody else pay your mortgage and create wealth for you, then the numbers got to make sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I hope you had that. I'm sure that was a fun conversation. I'll just leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. Okay, no problem. What I'm going to do is let's flip it over to another comment here. Let's just see. I love Divine. She's taking advantage of Ray in real time. I'm buying for a couple of reasons: college funding for my son and my retirement, also to generate revenue to add to my income.
And there you go. That's the why. And that's the first thing you need to do as a real estate investor. What is the why, right? And then once you figure out what the why is, what product will work best for your why. So Divine Right has a long-term plan, right? Where she's buying for, I'm not sure how old her son is, but I'm sure he's probably still a minor.
Yeah.
So that's a long-term play. She probably has 20 years to retirement. So in that case, she has 20 years to make sure that her investment portfolio, real estate, works for her. And then the important thing is you want that cash flow. So what a lot of folks don't realize is that when you retire, if you had a very decent job today, you're making a six-figure income. When you retire, even though you're mortgage free, how is that pension going to maintain the
Your
lifestyle
lifestyle,
that you're
exactly.
currently having? And the one thing I
Exactly.
learned when I worked at the bank several years ago, one of the my clients told me this. My client said to me, think of your retirement as one big vacation. Now, most of us, when we go on vacation, we spend a lot of money on vacation, more than we spend on our daily basis. So if you're retired and it's one big vacation, you might need to make just as much as you're making today,
Yep.
or possibly more than you're making today, to have a nice retirement. And the way to fund that retirement is by owning cash flow positive real estate. If you've got 10 units, for example, and each of them is giving you $600 per month after expenses,
Huh.
$6,000 a month,
Yep.
right? So you factor in your two pensions and the rest of it, then you got a good income. No, you may have a tax problem, but I always tell my clients, only people who have money have tax problems. Broke folks ain't got tax problems. Tax problem is actually a very, very good thing. Let me have a tax problem instead of being a broke problem. I'm going to work with a tax problem.
Okay. I love that thought. Good stuff. No, that's good. Fitnance IQ Cam says, my why would be increasing my cash flow and getting another stream of revenue. And then Divine Right says, this might be a whole other show topic. Would love to know more about mixed real estate, retail on the bottom and housing on the top. A whole lot of those are popping up in my area.
That's another good asset class, particularly in an urban core. That's a very high walk score. So if you can find a unit that has, let's say, 2 apartments upstairs or 3 apartments above, and a store or 2 stores at the bottom, or a professional office, you've now mitigated your risk of buying the real estate by covering 2 different types of clients, of tenants. So you've got a commercial tenant in one unit or 2 units, and then you've got residential tenants in the other unit. So from a risk analysis perspective, that's actually a very good approach. The downside to that is that you're dealing in many cases with very small businesses. So any short-term correction in the economy, we usually see those businesses fail very quickly. And then you end up without any revenue for that commercial space. We see this in many parts of North America, where you walk down certain streets and you see all these empty units below apartment buildings, because usually they're very small businesses, barbershops, hair salons, nail stores, small restaurants, small stores, candle shops, that kind of stuff. And they're all usually owned by a sole proprietor. But it's also a very good approach to invest in. What I'm going to add to that, for those mixed-use buildings, your roof is also an asset. Many landlords who own those buildings rent the roof out to put signs up. If you drive down more street, you see those signs up on the roof. That's actually space rented out from the landlord. And that's actually a very good lucrative source of revenue, because it involves zero maintenance. There's no toilet to fix. There's no electrical problems. You just rent the roof, make your $8,000 or $10,000 a month on that sign, and you're good to go. Right? So it depends on how big that street is, depending on where the property is facing. You're coming off a highway, you're close to a subway station. Renting your roof is a great source of revenue for mixed-use real estate.
Nice. Very good point. Love that. That's, I'm sure one of you went, okay. So we're going to talk about another slide that Ray has provided here. Your real estate investor roadmap.
Yeah, this is very, very important. Like the previous slide, it's very important. Now you found your property. You've done the why, what, and where. So you've gone through the where and you found your property. You found this 2-family home. It's a legal duplex, and you found it. So you want to start gathering the information now, right? You've earmarked the property you want to make an offer on. You want to find, okay, what are the market rents per unit in the general neighborhood, and what can I get for my property? So if your property is, a legal duplex, each unit 800 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, what are these renting for in my neighborhood where this property is located? Is it $1,000 a month? Is it $1,200 a month? And what is that rent revenue in relation to my purchase price, right? So if I'm buying for $200,000 and I'm renting each unit for $1,000 a month, then I'm okay. If I'm buying for $500,000 and renting for $1,000 a month, with today's interest rates at 5% and a 25% down payment, then you might not be okay. So you've got to gather the information, know exactly what your numbers look like, know exactly what the amount of tenants are in the area, what's your renter to owner ratio. Is it a 50-50 ratio in terms of renters and tenants? Is it a 60-40 with there being more owners than renters? Or is it 60-40, the reverse, where there's more renters than owners? Is it an area where there's higher incomes, lower incomes? Are you buying this property close to a university, a hospital, a factory? So who is my client? Who's my tenant, right? Then you want to study the comparable sales, right? What is the historic sales of this area, right? How much has these properties increased in value over the last 10 years? Is it a dying market, or is it a market that's appreciating their value by 4% or 5% every single year? And that will give you a sense of how you can plan for the property. Now, if the market is flat, it's not a bad thing if the property is cash flowing, right? If your debt service coverage is at 1.85 or 1.9%, it might still make sense, right? But the property might also give you the opportunity to redevelop it. So you can buy a property that's in an area where the value isn't changing, but if you change the footprint of the property, if you add another bedroom or you add another unit or you go up another story, then you change the value. So it costs you $100,000 to build the other floor, but change your value by $200,000, right? And once you create the snapshot, you look at your equity position. Once I put down this amount of money on this property, what is my return going to be? And I put down my 25%, my 35%, or I buy the property cash, depending on what the property costs and how you want to approach the situation. And then you look at your numbers. And then the next thing you want is get a home inspection. And this is perhaps the most important thing you want to do when you're buying investment real estate, right? Because if you buy a property that was owned by somebody who did a fix and flip, and they didn't do it properly, they may have covered up a lot of issues with fresh paint. One is foundation, plumbing, and roof. Because those are the things that are going to cost you a lot of money if you bypass them when not doing a home inspection, right? You don't want to get a place with foundation issues. You don't want to get a place with electrical issues. You don't want to get a place that has major plumbing issues, because you guys are pulling out the drywall, ripping up your flooring to deal with all that stuff. Now, if you're buying it at a significant price discount, where the property is being sold for about a 40% discount on what everything else in the area is worth, and you know that you've got the resources and the team to fix all the issues, then it may make sense. I'm not a contractor, so I stay from those kind of situations. I prefer to buy something where a lot of the work is done. I get an inspector to come in, they inspect everything passes, and all I gotta look for is a tenant. Some minor changes, probably change the sink here, change some appliances, probably a coat of paint, but I'm not looking to buy any property where there's houses falling apart, and I've got to figure out, how to put this back together to make money. Because what I've experienced in those situations is that the 2-week process, or the 2-week or the 3-week process to remedy the situation, will end up becoming a 2 or 3 month nightmare and a money pit, right? So you've got to be very careful by doing that. And the inspection is probably the most important part of this entire process, because that's going to make or break you.
Okay, fantastic. Let's take down this. Thank you for breaking that down. And as usual, while you're sharing with us, more comments come up. Hayton says property management should also be considered how you will manage problem tenants.
Yes, I mean, if you're comfortable doing it yourself, then that's fine. But if you're buying, far from where you're located, let's say you're buying property in Newfoundland or Nova Scotia or in Florida, you're living in Toronto, or you're living in Chicago or New York, then it might be wise to get a property management company to deal with that for you. But also to add to what the comment you made, you also want to know what programs are available, rental programs are available within the zip code or postal code you're buying, and take advantage of them. And that's what a lot of tenants, what a lot of landlords, don't do. So you want to figure out what housing programs are available that will allow you to shift the onus of tenant screening from yourself to a government agency or a not-for-profit, where your rent comes to you very seamlessly without all the headaches. And that usually involves getting into housing where the tenants are dealing with subsidies or housing programs. So you're not dealing with your top tier tenants. But if you're dealing with top tier tenants now, then what kind of properties will attract those kind of tenants, right? And usually they're more executive type homes for corporate relocations. They're high-end condos for diplomatic staff. Like in downtown Toronto, you've got a lot of embassies in Toronto. So if you've got a 2,000 square foot condo down in Yorkville, then your tenant may be the Japanese embassy or the Japanese consular office. And, so you've got to fit. And that's why the why, what, and where is important. Right? You've got to define who's your tenant. Right? If you're buying a property in, on Eglinton Avenue between Oakwood and Dufferin, and you're buying a property in Port Credit, it's not the same tenant. Right? You can't expect this kind of tenant in a certain neighborhood. You're buying a property in the inner city of Detroit, and you're buying a property in Key Largo, or in certain parts of beachfront properties in Florida. It's not the same person, right? So you've got to understand who your tenant is going to be, and are you equipped to deal with that kind of tenant? If you're not, then find yourself a property manager. Okay? And that goes back to why so many investors fail at what they do when it comes to buying real estate, because they're excited about the process. They get emotionally involved. I can make all this money and I can collect all this rent, but they haven't defined the process properly, and they will run into problems.
Good point. Divine Right says, yes, Hayden, when I had an investment property, I eventually hired a property manager. He was a game changer, took a lot of stress off me, especially with a problematic tenant.
Yeah.
So they come in very, very handy. I'm going to put up one more slide. So I'm just going to do a little monitor management, as I like to call it, and get this last slide up here. So there we go.
Yeah, buy at a discount, do some renovations, rent the property, refinance, repeat. Buy your next property, do the same thing. So you want to buy at a discount. The key is to buy at a discount. And you got to put the time and the work in. You want to drive around. You want to take a look at what's out there, and be very careful, folks. Do not look at real estate investment property the same way you look at buying a home to live in. It's not the same thing. It's not the same kind of neighborhood. It's not the same kind of financing involved. It's a very, very different journey, right? And once you remove that variable out of the equation, right, and you take out the emotion and stop looking at all the deficiencies in the property and look at the future potential, then you're going to be successful. You've got an 800 square foot house on a lot with a 100-foot frontage and a 90-foot depth, then that's a moneymaker right there. That's a big lot. You can rezone that property and put 6 units in it, right? So You've got to figure out how to take out all that emotional energy and look at it from pure logic, get the spreadsheets out, understand what's happening in your city, understand where the gentrification is taking place, see which companies are moving to your city. Is there an Amazon warehouse coming close to where you are or close to where you want to buy? Because with that Amazon warehouse is going to come probably 5,000 jobs. And they're usually low-paying jobs, which means that people are going to move from other parts of the country, other parts of the state, other parts of the province, other parts of the city to come there to live, because everybody's looking for work in North America. Right? So it's all about logic. Get your maps out. There are 52 urban centers in Ontario. Most people can name 5. They all buy and rent in the exact same 5 zip codes and 5 urban centers. Get familiar with the geography of your state and your province to understand where the opportunities are. In the US, it's much easier to do here than in Canada, because they've got a much larger population. They've got many more urban centers. Many of them include military bases, a lot of manufacturing, a lot of seaports. So you've always got people moving for jobs. You know, here in Canada, you know, anywhere along the 401 from Newfoundland right across to Vancouver, drive along the 401 and just watch the amount of urban centers you have. You know, you go between Chatham and Sarnia, between London and Windsor. Going back the other way, you go between, you know, Bowmanville and Ottawa, or Ottawa and Quebec, or Montreal, sorry. And you look at all the cities across there and look at how many people live in those places. Look at what the industries are, and then figure out if you can actually buy property there. Look at the numbers, look at what they're selling for, look at what the rents are, look at what the revenues are going to be, and put the numbers together and see if it makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Divine Ray says, yeah, that's the other thing. Amazon is building and plans on adding some sort of regional headquarters not far from me in Northern Virginia.
And there you go. That's probably 10,000 people looking for work in that facility. And most of them may come from outside of Northern Virginia. Because, you know, once Amazon puts up a facility, Amazon, Google, there's a few companies, everybody flies out there to get jobs with them. And the job spectrum in those companies ranges from, you know, regular warehouse staff all the way up to executives. Seems somebody relocates from another city at the executive level, they still have the rent temporarily till they decide where to live. So, I mean, you have to figure out what your product is that you're offering and who your tenant is. Like when it comes to student rentals, for example, a lot of folks focus on buying student rentals when it comes to buying in university towns. But there's another segment that many people ignore, and that's academic staff, right? Because a lot of universities, a lot of the professors come from other parts of the world and other cities, and many people transfer into universities to do their doctoral theses and do doctoral stuff, and they do research. So most times they come with a family. Usually they're married with children. But many people look when they make out but buying in a university town, the primary focus is all owning a house and turn it into a rooming house and into students. But you can buy a home and cater for academic staff, where you now turn it into a nice duplex or triplex. It's close to good schools, it's close to a daycare facility. It's a walkable community. You can walk to the university or walk to stores. But now your tenant is a different person, and your revenue might be the same or more with less stress, because renting to students is no fun, right? That's a very, very stressful process. It's not for the faint at heart.
Ray, one of the messages I'm taking away from our conversation is this is a science. It's a science, really and truly.
It's a business, right? And like with any business, you need a team. So you need a good realtor. And I'm going to leave this with you guys. If you buy a property outside in a certain community away from where you live, don't take your local realtor with you. I know he's very good. He or she's very good at what they do. You've got a great relationship. Find a realtor in that place where you're buying that property. They understand all the nuances. If you live in Toronto and you're buying in Windsor, find a realtor in Windsor. If you live in Maryland and you're going to buy your place down in somewhere in Virginia, find a realtor in Virginia. If you live in Miami and you plan to buy in Jacksonville, Florida, find a realtor in Jacksonville, Florida. You will run into problems. You may get lucky on occasion, but a lot of times, because they don't understand the nuances of that society. Each zip code is different. Each postal code, each block is different, right? Scarborough is not Malton. Regent Park is not Jane and Shepherd, right? So if your focus is in one part of the city or one neighborhood, then remember you invest in a lot of money. You know, property prices across North America range from $100,000 to millions of dollars. So if you want to build an investment portfolio and do this successfully, then the first person is to find a really good realtor who understands what you're trying to accomplish. Next, you want to get somebody who understands financing for rental properties, because it's not the same as financing for the house you live in. First of all, the rates are usually much higher, right? If a property has a challenge, then a lot of times the banks don't finance it. So it might mean you have to go to a hard money lender or private lender to get it funded. And even in that case, it still might make sense, because sometimes it's a short-term play you need to make to acquire the property. So instead of getting that rate of 3.5%, it might cost you 9%, but prepare yourself for those numbers. Hence, the reason it's important to run your spreadsheet and do best case and worst case scenarios to see if going after that property makes sense. When I do a spreadsheet for an investment property, I use a rate of 2% higher than what the worst 5-year rate is. So if I can't get done through a major lender and I've got to go the alternative source, is this deal still going to make sense for me? Right? Because anything will happen. You can do the inspection and find that the wiring, the circuit, the breaker system is not functional. It's old, it's outdated, or the roof has a problem. So the lender's not going to fund anymore because the roof needs to be doing. So you've got to make sure that you've got that team, a good inspector, a home inspector who's going to give you the goods in the property. There's no bias. That's his profession. If you want to contract to yourself, you want to make sure you have a contracting team in place. If you're doing buying to rehab, or you're buying to flip, or even just to have a rental portfolio, because there will be issues that you're going to encounter ever so often that you might not be able to fix yourself. And then you want to have your real estate lawyer, because sometimes there's problems in closing, where if you want vacant possession but the current tenants don't want to move, then you need a good lawyer to deal with that kind of situation. And then, the last one you want to have is, you want to make sure that, whatever you're doing is part of your long-term goals, right? Make sure it's part of your long-term goals, that you're not just buying for the wrong reasons.
Family, whether you watch this live or on replay, that last few minutes was high value. So if you didn't get something out of that last few minutes, plus on top of the minutes before that, I don't know. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. So just a few comments here before we let Ray go. Christopher Lawrence says, thanks, Ray. Also says, when is the Ray Real Estate McMillan ebook coming out? And then he also says, thank you for sharing this valuable information. And Divine Right says, I've said this before, Ray is like a walking masterclass for real estate. I deeply appreciate all that I'm learning from him. You did it again, man. You rocked the house. So again, anyone who has any interest in real estate, I watch the replay on this if I were you. I'm going to. I don't do the replay. I contact him live in real time to get it. But this is a lot of things, and like Fitnance goes, amazing information.
Thank you very much.
Divine Right, emoji hand claps. Absolutely. And I thought one of those things I had never thought about today is, renting your rooftop, that signage, making money. That's a no-brainer.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's why you've got to have the team. Like, you've got to have people who've done it. Like for me, I had two old mentors, two old school guys who were in the trenches trying to buy property all across Toronto and Hamilton. Both of them are probably in their 80s today, but they were old school, man. I mean, I remember doing a deal with one of my mentors, old Jamaican dude. He was hands-on, he's probably like 5'6", but this dude is strong as hell, man. He had his huge hands. I remember we bought this fix and flip in Hamilton, and he told me, he says, it had this little 5-foot crawl space, and he says, I'm going to turn this into a 2-family home. I said, what do you mean? He says, okay, I'm going to dig the basement down.
Wow.
Because it was a nice home in a very decent sized lot, and you could have parked, I think, 4 cars in the driveway. He said, I'm going to dig the basement down. I'm going to put 2 apartments down here. This is like 2001. And this guy dug this basement down by himself.
Wow.
Let's go and help him do it. Right? And yeah, it took us 3 months. The property was bought like around 89,000. When he finished with the property, put about 30,000 into it. It was worth like around 220. And he turned a single family home into a triplex. That's what I was saying earlier. When you look at the property as an investor, you've got to have a vision with it. What can I do with this property today that I can change the footprint and make this $100,000 piece of crap into $1 million piece of real estate? And how can I change my $800 a month rent on this little property here into $10,000 worth of revenue? Right. So you have the vision, right? It's like an artist. You look at the blank canvas, and then you create your Picasso, right? So
Nice.
it's an amazing journey, right? There's also challenges. I mean, that gentleman had another problem. He bought another property and did the same thing, and then one the walls fell in, right? One of the support walls in the basement fell in, right? You're taking the basement out and another property, 2 doors down. The first one was successful, and then what was a $30,000 rental problem became a $100,000 nightmare, right?
Wow.
But it balanced itself out because the first property made all this money on. The second one, son, that's the other thing. You got to basically know how to throw the dice, right? I'm not a gambler. I only bet on me. But you got to know how to balance out your risk and reward, right?
Sure.
If you're fixing and flipping, then you got to know what you're doing, because if you buy a property and then you run into a lot of structural issues out doing your inspections, it can kill you. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth, so it destroys you, right? But I mean, you got to have the mentors to do it. I mean, I got a friend of mine out in the East End. Him and his wife are a contracting team. They have done fix and flips since I've known them for like 20 plus years. They go and find a place, older home that's like 30 years old, like 40 years old, there's no rent done to the home, and they go in and change everything inside and put it back on the market. And for those people who said you can't find these in Ontario and in GTA, you're not looking hard enough. You're not looking hard enough, man. There's deals out there, right? There's people living in homes that are old as hell, with the kitchen falling apart. You just gotta know to get to them. You gotta drive around. You drive down Western Road, south of St. Clair, in those neighborhoods. They're old neighborhoods, right? They're old homes. You go into South Etobicoke, close to Evans Road. You got those old wartime homes built in these large lots, right?
Yeah.
That are, it's a 50-foot lot. You got this 800 square foot bungalow. Same thing in the U.S. You drive to any major urban center in the U.S. Any area where you've got a large population that is melanated, you're gonna find a lot of great deals. You've got old, well-established black neighborhoods that are falling apart, but today they're going through gentrification.
Yep.
Right. The big challenge you've got in the U.S. is that because most people are so traumatized from how they grew up in those urban centers, they don't go back.
That's exactly.
I don't have that trauma, man. I grew up in the Caribbean, so when I walk through streets in any American city, there's no trauma for me. I just see the opportunity. So you got to block that trauma and try and figure out how you can make money off of this product, because everybody is doing it.
Good thought. I think that's a good thought. Good thought to leave on. Excellent. Few last comments. Divine Right saying never thought of that either. Dr. Vibe renting the rooftop. She says, Divine says, I have to run, but this was amazing. Thank you, Dr. Vibe and Ray. But she made this comment. I thought she was running, but she said, Ray, I knew all of this in 2016. I would have bought my grandparents' house and flipped it into a triplex. People have done it up there in Queens. Could have kept the house in the family and made money.
Yeah.
Ray, as always, want to thank you for you, Stephan, and the rest of the team for all you have done, all you are doing, and all you will do. I appreciate, and there's others I know here that appreciate you taking the time to help us win.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I don't have all the approaches or techniques. I have had more losses than wins, made a lot of mistakes. I can share those losses, so if anybody wants to do it, know what not to do.
Yes, give him a call.
You go to the basement, you support the retaining wall. That's the first thing you need to do. Before you start building that basement, you should support that wall, put collapse in you, what I mean? The whole house fall on your head.
So now Divine says, now I'm going LOL. Thank you both. Okay, get it going. I know you got stuff to do, Divine, right? Also, Ray, I know you got stuff to do. We'll be in touch as always. Thank you. And again, it's on the screen, whether you're watching live on replay. I flash it throughout the conversation. Even if you just want to have a conversation about this stuff, you won't lose family. The people that have contacted Ray through watching him on these conversations, all of them have come back and said, that was amazing. He was so good. So don't take it from me. Take it from people like Divine Right, who don't even live in Canada, who live in the U.S. right? Take advantage, make a decision, and take action to contact Ray. Ray, blessings to you, my brother.
Same here. We're eating tonight, bro.
Pardon me? Where am I heading
We're eating
tonight? I don't know. I don't know if I'm heading anywhere tonight. I don't know, but I did speak with Roger Dundas yesterday, and I think he's going to be in Brampton tomorrow
on
and
Kennedy
overnight.
Road?
So I told him to contact you. I'm going to be speaking with him again today. I'd say because I think I think he needs to speak to you about something he wants to do. And the first person I came to said, call Ray when you're out in Brampton, because he's going to have something he's going to be eating in Brampton either today or tomorrow. So I'm going to just make sure I say,
Okay.
Here's Ray's number, call him so you can get together.
That'd be great, man. I appreciate that. Thanks
All
a lot
right,
again,
no
Dr.
problem, my brother.
I appreciate the platform.
My
you know
pleasure.
what I mean? I really enjoy it. Thank
Oh,
you very
no,
much.
okay, look at this. Look at this. Roger said Saturday. Okay,
Oh, thanks, man.
Okay, so Roger, I'm gonna right after this, I'm gonna give you a quick call. I'm gonna give you Ray's number. Make it happen if you can, because definitely that's a serious conversation. And Roger, you had mentioned in some of our conversations something you're looking to do. I believe Ray could certainly. Oh, look at this. He's going lunch at Oak's Kitchen on Sunday. Do you know where Oak's Kitchen is?
I don't know where that is.
All right. Well, you know what?
That's what the one in.
That's all right. Well, that's why I'm going to give him your phone number, and you two can chat and hopefully get together on Sunday. But that would be I really want to have you two sitting down together. That would bring joy to me. Just two gentlemen I highly respect.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
All right.
All right. Take care, my brother.
All right. Be well. All right. We'll see you soon. Take care. All right. And there again, just we flashed up Ray's contact information. As always, a great conversation today. Thank you, family, for your engagement, either live on the replay. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. So before we check out here, a few things. If you want to get in contact with me, website, thedrvibeshow.com. Email address, dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. YouTube and Facebook, The Dr. Vibe Show. Twitter, drvibeshow, and Instagram, the drvibeshow. You can watch replays. I'll scroll it along on the bottom. Also, that's scrolling along the bottom. If you are in Canada, please check out By Black's Restaurant Week. It has been massive. Actually, when I was at BookCon on Wednesday night, I did some Instagram lives, and it's interesting. I don't do a lot of Instagram lives, but when I do and I'm eating, they always get the best response. I don't get it, but hey, I did it, and we're at BookCon, and I was getting into the food on Wednesday night. Fantastic, and I've got a catching up to do because I took some photos of my food journey, some of the food journey this week, so I've got to post on Instagram. So another reason to follow me on Instagram. Also, you can catch replays of the show on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and Facebook, the Afro Caribbean Business Network, Facebook and YouTube, and the Ryan Oneil YouTube site. Also, if you would like to promote your business or service on your show, contact me at dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. Also, Monday, we have Dwayne Morgan, poet, entrepreneur, coming on to talk about his latest event that he's going to be curating called When Brothers Speak. So catch that on Monday on the Morning Vibe. Next time I will be on your screen or on your monitor, wherever or your phone or your tablet or your laptop or your desktop monitor. Tomorrow night, State of Things with Aisha and Jill. So that's Aisha K. Staggers, Jill Jones, and Laura Lalaki talking about mainly stuff going on social politically in the United States. Then on Sunday afternoon, Black Canada Talking, I've got Sean DeFreitas. He is an accountant, and he's going to be talking about doing accounting, bookkeeping, all the ins and outs, especially if you're a business or an entrepreneur. Sean has about 13 to 15 years experience. He has helped numerous Black entrepreneurs in Canada in regards to bookkeeping, accounting, etc. So please catch that. How do you know when to catch them? Subscribe, especially on the YouTube channel. I am now about 958 subscribers. I am pushing for the 1,000, for the 1K to get 1,000 subscribers. So if you are up to it, please subscribe, and also subscribe and notifications, especially on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and also hit on the notification bell. Big time. It'll tell you when upcoming conversations are happening. And that is, Fitness IQ Cam says, I don't know what you're saying, to, so you better tell me what the O is all about. But yeah, so that's what's coming up on the Morning Vibe. So I'm going to close out with what I usually close out with. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. We'll see either Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, or maybe some more of all, some not. But at least check in. Again, YouTube, subscribe, notifications. Want to celebrate 1K with you. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith and walk good.